Hey guys, can you guys hear me okay? Dr. Harry, good to see you, hear from you again. Can you guys hear me? Awesome, perfect. All right, if you guys get a second, click the polls next to chat at the top of the screen, probably the top right-hand side of your screen, little tab there that says polls. Click that real quick. I'm gonna give everybody just a couple more minutes to get in and get settled. And we'll get rocking and rolling here. Good evening from Finland. All right. Thank you for staying up with us. All right, let's go ahead and get rocking and rolling here. Give you guys one more second to get in, and then we're gonna go. We got everybody 200 in there now. All right, guys, let's get rocking and rolling here. So, what is Goaty all about? Well, it's really quite simple. For the past 35 of my 49 years on this planet, I've been obsessed with one thing, and that is, why do the goats make it look so darn easy? It's almost infuriating how simple and effortless and powerful the greats all made the swing look. Jones, Hogan, Tiger, Jack, they all just seem to do something different than everybody else. And nobody's ever been able to really figure it out. And so I have been obsessed with this pursuit of wanting to be able to basically, as I get older, hit it even farther to at least some degree, because obviously, unless you're moving truly efficiently, you have a ton of potential ceiling of how much better you can hit the ball. And that's always been my argument with when Tiger was at his peak. He was just more efficient than everybody else. He was moving less than everybody else. And so what was it that he was really doing? That's the trick. What is it that the greats all really did? And why has no one been able to figure this out in a way to teach it to everybody so all golfers could swing like this? Well, that's what I'm going to work on showing you today, because that's exactly what I did with Goaty, because I haven't just been obsessed with swinging like this and teaching my students like this. I have wanted to personally swing like a goat. Who doesn't? When you look at Ben Hogan wasn't a big guy, but he was an amazing ball striker, had plenty of power, and he just made it look easy. Anybody should be able to swing like that, or even like Tiger. I know a lot of people think that Tiger had such an incredibly athletic swing, and certainly he did, but he was also so efficient. When you looked at him, he looked like he was barely moving, yet the ball rocketed off the face. What is that? What were they doing? That's what we're going to focus on. And that's what I built Goaty for, because I wanted to be able to swing like this. As I get older, I'm turning 50 next year. I don't want to keep moving up a set of tees. And I know that I can swing much more efficient. And by building Goaty, I started to understand what it is that the goats truly did, not what they say that they did or thought that they did, or others have subjectively interpreted what they did, but what did they really do? And that is what Goaty can see, because Goaty can see things that no human can. In fact, I'm going to walk you through exactly what he does and how he does it and how he's going to help you. But Goaty is tracking over 50,000 data points. Yes, you heard that right. 50,000 data points in every single swing that you analyze. So he can see things that just no human can. And there's so much calculations going on behind the scenes that it's impossible for a human to replicate what he can do, as you'll see in just a moment. So Goaty is not just an expert, PhD expert at biomechanics, physics, anatomy, golf swing mechanics, because he knows everything that's ever been written, said, thought about the golf swing that's ever been published. And so when you combine that knowledge with a pursuit of understanding what the goats really did, which I've been pursuing my entire life, and you start putting those two together, you start being able to develop patterns and understanding what the goats were doing. And that is exactly what Goaty does. As for those of you who are beta testers and got in early, you got to see that Goaty detects a pattern in your swing. And all golfers, unless you're at the elite level, have all these inefficiencies in their swing. And so Goaty can see that very, very simply, and he can understand what pattern it is. And then he can prescribe to you the exact right drill for you in this exact moment, because he knows exactly physically, mechanically what's going on in your swing. And for most golfers, they're simply working way, way, way too hard. When I hit a ball, I'm probably working half as hard as most of you to hit the ball much, much farther. And that's what the elites all had. And what they really had was this whip. That's the part that I've been obsessed with forever. Is you can hear it when they hit the ball like cracks. It's almost like they're hitting a rock instead of a soft golf ball. There was something magical about how they moved and how they created that whip effect where the club and the wrists and everything snaps through the ball. And that's really what Goaty is doing for you. What Goaty's job is to teach you how to move your body first, to build the engine of your swing. Then he's going to teach you how to be stable and have the right anchors in your swing so that you have consistency. And then once you have those two key ingredients, then he's going to teach you how to whip the club, how the club snaps through the ball effortlessly with all the power in the world. So let's dive in and let's take a look at what Goaty's doing. And I'm going to let you guys ask questions as we go through here. So let me show you how to use Goaty. So when you guys log into Goaty, the first time you're obviously not going to see all this data because you haven't uploaded any swings yet. But once you upload a swing, which we're going to do in a moment, you'll be able to start to see all your scores. And Goaty is tracking exactly what I just said. He tracks your engine. This is how your body, your fascial slings, your musculature, all of the connective tissue, how it's working to dynamically load and sequence to release the club with maximum force and minimum effort. What is the ideal biomechanical way to produce effortless power in the golf swing, and how do the goats do it? That's what makes up your engine score. The anchor score is what Goaty focuses on next. So once you have a good engine score, at least in the 80s, he'll let you start focusing on your stability and consistency, because there's no point in hitting it straight short. You need to have power first. And so once you have that, Goaty will start working on getting your stability. So you start having consistency, you start understanding how to get the club to bottom out in the exact same spot every time. And then he focuses on the whip. And the whip is where the magic happens. This is what the GOAT code has always been about, because the goats all have this effortless violence where they lash the club through the ball, and it's magical. And that is what Goaty and I work together to figure out how to teach you how to do that. So now let's go ahead and put him to work here. So we'll start a new lesson. So Goaty works in the terms of lessons, just like you would with a golf coach. So we're going to say, I'm working on my sternum trace. You'll know what this means in just a second. So Goaty will use these later to understand what it is that you're working on in your swing. There's instructions here how to use the dashboard, but I'm going to show you it's very, very simple. The first thing you do is just analyze a new swing. Apparently I logged myself out. So now we'll analyze a swing. And as this is happening, what's going to happen is you're going to upload your swing to Goaty. You need to film it at 120 frames per second for the most accurate scoring. You'll come in here, and this is just temporary. You won't have to do this for very much longer, but for right now, this is the most accurate way to get scores. And I did this with a low frame rate video because it does take longer to process and upload with the higher frame rates, but you get much more accuracy. So all you'll do right now is you'll come in here and you'll tap on the ball, and then you'll select your setup frame, which if you edited your video, trimmed it down, which you will want to, it should be close to frame 0. But if if it's not, you have to drag the scrubber, and then you can select frame by frame like this. So you want to find that last frame right before you start moving, set that as your setup frame. Then go to the top. I explain how to mark this correctly in the video, but basically it's right before you change directions is the top of your swing. So we'll select that as top. And then impact, we're going to get, again, I did a short video here just to save time with upload speed. So impact is the closest frame to the ball. And ideally, if it's just a hair before like this compared to there where the ball is long gone, again, this is only 30 frames per second, that would be our ideal impact frame. And then just scroll down here and let Goaty go to work. And he's going to start analyzing your swing. And now what he's doing is he's taking a look at literally over 50,000 data points in just the face-on view of the swing. And you may be asking, why just face-on? Face-on is a truth teller of the swing. You can fake a lot of stuff down the line, but you can't fake it face-on because that's showing you how your body's producing power. So here you'll see that this swing got scored an overall score of 80. GOAT score is a composite score. It is your engine, anchor, and whip that are all weighted differently to come up with the composite score of your GOAT score. And that's how you measure your progress. It's like your handicap for your golf swing, but a handicap isn't really a good measure of how well you swing the club or how efficient you are, or what kind of ball striker you are. What is Craig saying? The screen froze there. Let me see. Let me stop sharing and start it again, see if it fixes things. All right, can you guys see my screen again? Yeah. Okay, you guys can see it again. Everything's moving okay. Sorry about that. I'm on, you can blame Elon for that. So I just added a swing. I'll go through it again real quick. So we'll just analyze one again real quick, because with these short videos, they happen really, really fast. So uploading the swing, again, we'll select the frames. You don't have to worry about the details of any of this stuff. It's all laid out already. There's a instructional video right beneath this that shows you how to select these frames. So don't worry about that. I'm just going to run through this again real quick, and then you can watch the video on the site. But the big thing is understanding the analysis, which is coming next. So as I said, you just click Analyze. It's still frozen. Huh. Back now. It's when I click Analyze, it freezes. Okay. How about now? Are we back where you guys can see it okay? This has nothing to do with Goaty. This has to do with Demio, who we use for hosting. So, all right, so I'll just pull up a swing here. Okay. And I'll try to keep an eye on the chat here to make sure you guys can see everything. Okay, so it works. We won't analyze again because it seems to crash Demio, which is our webinar hosting software there. Okay, so once you analyze your swing, here's what you're going to see. First of all, you're going to see your session average score. So again, the GOAT score is all about measuring the quality of the sequence of movement. It has nothing to do with your ball flight or any of those things. It's looking at what really matters, because that stuff can all easily change. What it's looking for is how consistently are you moving and what are you really doing to generate power. Your consistency score is just showing you how consistent you are in this session with Goaty. So you'll see if I went down here, like I'm going in the wrong direction. So now, once you get in here, you'll be able to do a model overlay. And so the model overlay, I'll click this. Let me know if your screen freezes up again, if you guys can see it okay. So the model overlay is the mathematical model of what the GOATs actually did in their swings. So the model is in yellow, and my swing, I'm in red, and you'll also see the sternum trace in the top right-hand part of the screen. This moves dynamically with your body. So what you'll see, the blue line is the GOATs. This is how the elites move. This is how they load it into the ground for power. So you can see that sternum trace line dropping way down. And in most golfers that we've analyzed, we did about 1,000 swing analyses during the first stage of beta testing. And almost every single golfer had their sternum going up in the backswing and then further up in the downswing. Literally the exact opposite of what all elite players do. All elite players load down into the ground, actually, except for Nicholas. Nicholas actually had a rise too. He was kind of the exception to all the GOATs that I've studied over the last 35 years. But the modern power player loads down into the ground. That's why you've seen Tiger with that squat move, and he follows this trace like absolutely perfectly. His sternum goes down. You'll see mine does too, and it starts to change direction. But you can see just how sharp the model change of direction is. This is when they're exploding up off the ground using their fascia instead of muscular power. I'm still kind of muscling the swing here in this one. And so that's why you see kind of a slower curve, but then you see this massive vertical rise as we get into impact. So here at impact, you can see that we have this near vertical movement of the sternum. Now, what I've seen is most golfers actually are starting to kind of just flatten out. They move level and up, going back, and then vertically going back on the downswing. Like I said, literally the exact opposite. So now you're no longer questioning, like, what am I doing in my swing? Am I moving correctly? Is this drill working? Is it helping me? We measure everything. And we measure every key detail that maps it to exactly how the goat's moved. And so if you look at your model overlay down here, you can see, like in this case, setup wise, I'm pretty good. Again, I'm the red skeleton, the model is yellow. And then as we go back, this is again where you would see typically massive differences between what you're doing and what the elite players did. But then it becomes very, very easy to visualize. So you can see in this case, I didn't load into my trail hip the same way that the goats did. I'm kind of a little bit more hung on my lead side and with a little bit more hip rotation. So these things, again, Goaty explains all this stuff to you. So he can see your sternum trace, he can see all of your data, all 50,000 data points, and you can ask him questions, which we'll do in just a moment, about your swing. So now you'll start to see, like, close-wise, we're very close to being synced up to the model, and that's what you're looking for, because as you start moving like the model, you are starting to move like the goats. And this is, again, pure math. It doesn't, it's not something that somebody's saying subjectively, I think this is better or not. This is binary. It's yes or no. You are better or you're not. And Goaty looks at this, and after each analysis, he compares your last swing with this one and says, okay, you trended down a little bit. 1 point's no big deal, but seeing a big jump in my anchor score, my stability, and really the anchor is a lot about measuring the head. So, but it measures all your structural points, your hips, your pelvis, your legs, all of it. But a lot of times this score will be very, very low for amateurs. We saw scores in the 50s, very, very common for all the people that we had in the first stage of beta test, because their head's moving all over the place because they don't know how to load in the swing, which we're going to talk about in a moment. And then the whip score. How efficiently are you snapping the release of the club? And that, in this case, my whip is normally pretty good, but here I was pushing, and so I slowed down the deceleration rate. So Goaty's measuring how fast my hands decelerate into the ball. And so I actually went down here. So then I kind of got my overall goat score dropped down just a little bit. And now, once Goaty's done analyzing my swing, I can go down here and chat with him about it. So he's going to literally tell me what he just saw. So he'll compare it to my last swing and say, oh, well, you went down a little bit on this, and here's why that happened. So you'll say, compared to your previous swing, your head impact position improved significantly, rising 17 points. So my head stability was a lot better there. However, there were noticeable drops in hand drop velocity ratio. You don't have to worry about all these technical things. He's going to explain it in a very simple way. It's just understanding how to sequence the swing is what really matters the most. And then he's going to talk about your sternum movement. You can actually ask him to explain the sternum graph, which you'll see down here in just a moment. And you'll see that he understands everything about your swing, and you can ask him anything about it. He also has picked out a specific drill for you based on your movement pattern. And this is something that we have done through testing. Basically, Goaty recognizes any swing pattern. And then he looks at your swing and says, based on your swing, here's the drill that I believe would help benefit you the most to fix what you need to focus on first. And so if he sees your engine score is low, he's going to focus on your engine score first. If you are asking about your whip and your engine score is low, he's going to kind of ignore you a little bit. So I know some of beta testers like, hey, I keep asking him how to improve my whip, and he keeps talking about my engine, because that's how you improve the whip. The whip is a byproduct. It's not something you consciously try to do. If you move your body correctly and sync with your arms, the club will whip naturally. So that's what he's trying to help you understand. So now he's recommended this drill. Now this drill is to help you understand how to move your body based on your specific movement pattern. So everybody gets a different drill. And then Goaty monitors your performance with this drill. And this is how he learns, because every single time you work with Goaty, he's a little bit better, because he looks at all of the golfers in the database, every single one who's uploaded a swing. Then he looks at what drill he had them work on. And then he looks at how did their scores change? How did their engine, anchor, whip, and goat score change? If it changed positively, he weights that drill a little bit more for that specific pattern. If he finds that your score actually went in the opposite direction after a few swings, he'll look at how your movement pattern might fit better with a different drill that he's had success with other golfers. And so that is really a big part of what we're doing in this stage 2 test, is now that we've got a baseline for what kind of improvement. And as I showed you guys in some of the videos, he's got an 86% success rate in the first week. In other words, 86% of the golfers saw a significant, measurable, scientifically valid improvement in their actual swing mechanics, how they're moving their body, not just subjectively, I hit the ball a little bit better and so on. So this allows you to start to have the understanding that Goaty is recommending a drill for you based on your pattern and based on experience with other golfers exactly like you. And then he measures the success and then he adjusts it. You'll also be able to visualize down here how effective this drill that he recommended for you has been for you. So in this case, on this swing, and obviously these numbers are going to fluctuate a little bit because when you try to do a new drill, then you're going to find that, you know, the first few swings it's going to feel a little weird, right? Because you're just not used to moving like that. So your score may drop a little bit. So he understands that. So he gives you some time to work through this and understands there's going to be fluctuations. But he monitors this, and you can monitor this. Because how many times have you watched a drill, you've watched something on the internet, and you say, okay, that drill makes a ton of sense. I'm going to go out and hit balls. And how do you know if that drill, first of all, was right for you? And second of all, how do you know if you're doing it right? And how do you know if it really made any true impact in your golf swing? You don't, unless you just kind of rate everything on ball flight. But ball flight's finicky, because if you have a poor swing where you're not whipping the club correctly, you're relying on your hands and arms for all of that timing. And that timing changes day to day. So we want to get away from that. We want to get away from subjectively saying, oh, I think this drill's helping me. No, we measure. We know through 50,000 data points whether or not this drill actually made you better or not. And the last thing I talked about, the sternum drill. This is something that I have a video here. If you want to understand it further, you can it'll explain how this all works. But the thing is, you want to see that your body is moving somewhat similar to the goats. And ideally, the closer you get, the better you are, the more efficient ball striker you become. Again, most golfers, I saw almost the exact opposite. The orange line, which in this case is me, starts to go up right away and then starts going up, 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 up. And it's just, there's no load. There's no power in the golf swing because they're not loading down into the ground to load their core correctly. So this is going to be something that you'll learn how to use. It makes the swing incredibly simple. And I'm going to explain how this works in just a second when I get back in front of the camera. So then your last thing you're going to see in your trend is, you know, how you're doing in that practice session. And you can come down here and click at all of your different swings. You'll see the notes that you entered. You'll see this sternum trace looks a little bit different than the one before. I can see my previous whip scores. So you can go and look at what everything is doing in your swing. And then you can look at your model overlay. You can see what drill you were working on, and you can see the notes that you entered. So I like to enter good detailed notes in here, because Goaty also has access to my notes. So after I upload and analyze a swing, Goaty then has access to those notes. So I can go back to Goaty like a week later and say, hey, Goaty, remember when I was puring the ball and I told you I felt, what was it that I said I felt in my swing? I think I felt something on my lead foot. What was that I said? And then you can go back and search your chat history and look at that. And then Goaty can access those notes, and it helps him understand what helps you feel better in your swing. How are you actually moving better in your swing? So you'll be able to access all of that stuff through your history. You can chat with Goaty at any time. You can actually view your entire chat history. You can view leaderboards of all the golfers who've been measured on here in the beta program. So you can see kind of the scores. You can see where you stand. You can see the massive improvements that golfers made. This is my favorite one so far. 49-point improvement in 4 days. This is insane. And this is not subjective. 49, basically a 50-point improvement is like becoming a completely different human being. I think his score was like 31.7. It went up to 80.7. 80.7 is like a very high level mechanics, maybe mini tour pro to good amateur. A 31, you got lots and lots of problems. And you'll see most of the golfers, when they started out, were kind of in that amateur, around 50 is where kind of the true 15 to 20 handicapper kind of lies. And then they jump up to 82. This guy did it in 8 days, 45 to 75 in 7 days. And so you'll see, you can compare your progress. You can see how everybody's doing. And so this just helps us understand, are these drills that we're recommending for you actually working? So now I'll stop sharing for just a second. and I'll answer some questions because I can see you guys have got some questions in here. So what is it? It's like hack motion on crack. You could put it that way. This is my dream child of being able to measure success in my golf swing, not just say I hit the ball a little bit better, because again, that changes every day and it's so subjective. This is, am I starting to move like the goats? So like I talked about that sternum trace. The sternum trace, what I see most often is it goes, so just to watch my hands, like kind of goes up because people lift their arms. And then because they start firing their arms first, your body starts making room for it and starts going up even further. The goats don't do that. The goats stay pretty level, they load, they coil, and then that sternum trace goes down and to the left for a right-handed golfer. And then once I'm here, it explodes up. And that's where you see that massive vertical peak. That's efficiency in using your body correctly. So how do you get access to Goaty? Stay to the end. I'm going to talk about that. These shoes are amazing. I'm going to talk about how to get Goaty at the end. So Goaty is not integrated with the instruction side yet. I'm building a whole platform for them, but I'm focusing on you guys first. So the instructors will be able to use this in the future and look at all your data. So the version that you're seeing is right now, it's just running on a PC. So you can run on your phone. It's just in a web browser. So you can use it on Android. You can use an iPhone. You can use a PC, Mac. It doesn't matter. Yes, these shoes, while this has nothing to do with this, actually it kind of does. And this, I'll tell you why I switched real quick, since this is kind of a funny thing. First of all, one of the biggest changes I've made in my golf swing through Goaty, and Goaty and I working together, he's kind of like my research assistant, if you will. I video my swing, we upload it to the system, Goaty analyzes, I look at all of the metrics behind the scene and say, compare myself to Hogan or Tiger or Jack or Jones or whoever I want to compare myself to with what they did. And then I look at it and say, okay, what are they really doing? And what do I need to do differently to be able to have truly effortless power? The secret is understanding that in order to create that whip, you cannot be pushing or pulling the club through impact. The club must, your hands must decelerate. So now how do you decelerate correctly? A lot of times that's been completely misunderstood. So in order to understand how to truly move efficiently, like the goats did, feeling it in my feet is the big key. And so one of the drills that's on the site or inside of Goaty right now is called the torque bridge drill. And I know this is the one that's been by far proven the most successful with the highest number of patterns to instantly start getting golfers to get their engine, cramped up or start generating power. And what happens is you start understanding how to use your feet into the ground like the goats did in order to create leverage, in order to move your pelvis very fast. And that's one of the biggest differences. If you were to say just one thing that was different from the elites to everybody else on the planet, it's that their hips are wide open at impact, right? That's undeniable for almost every single great player from Hogan, Jones, Tiger on, that their hips were wide open at impact, and every amateur is all arms, okay? In order to feel what that feels like to sequence this correctly, one of the drills, and this is going to be inside of Goaty tomorrow, is a drill where you start on your lead big toe and you start to screw this into the ground, which is part of the torque bridge drill, during the backswing. The reason is that this leg has to snap in order for your hips to move fast enough, to move your arms fast enough, and then have them decel at the exact right time. You can't time this by trying to time it with your arms and hands. It must go in an exact sequence. And that's what Goaty is looking at more than anything, is the exact firing sequence of not just, the old school way of like hips first and then torso and then arms and then club. It's way more complex than that, because he's looking at the exact sequence of your feet, your ankles, your knee joint, everything spiraling up to generate efficient power. And this is what you saw in all elite players. They look like they just snap through, and then their arms, like, here's the part that really drives me crazy about elites. When the goats swing and they hit one really hard and they do this, how do you stop it there without like muscling it somehow? It took me a long time to understand that this movement is all tied to the sequence of how you start to feel. The way that I teach it is through your toes, because I wind up on my big toe and then I go around my toes just like this. to the outside of my foot, and that creates this initial spiraling motion for my hip to snap. And that's where all the speed comes from. And that's how now, as I'm almost 50, I hit it just as far or farther than I did when I was in college playing and swinging as hard as I could at 20. So all I have to do now is I load up this lead hip, I turn into my lead arm, let that move, and then snap that hip down. And that whole movement is that. And it's so much easier to feel that in these shoes. All right, so now let me come and answer some questions. What do we got? Let me scroll back up here. Yeah, yes. So Bob's asking, in the future will be integrated to Goaty without upload. In the phone app version that we're building, yes, it's all handled automatically for you. Goaty will be able to watch drills soon, not in this beta version right now, but he will be able to watch you do drills to make sure you're doing them correctly. Right now, he watches full swing. And Goaty right now is just for full swing only, and it's just face on. Let's see. Like I said, there's no short game stuff right now. I talk about landscape or portrait in the how-to video, so that's on the site. As far as how many drills Goaty can recommend, he recommends one at a time, and then he measures your actual swing mechanics after practicing that drill to see if that drill was effective for you. So he only gives you one thing to focus on at a time. And let me explain this, because obviously on Rotary Swing, there's a ton of videos. I've done like 3,000 or 4,000 golf instruction videos. With Goaty, I wanted to take a completely different approach. Rotary Swing, I get into the mechanics and the biomechanics and the physics and all of the complex stuff, where it's a more of an in-depth learning scenario, because I'm trying to give you all the information that you need to be able to do this for yourself. The problem is, first of all, I've been teaching now for over 30 years, and nobody, myself included, ever is doing what they think they are. That's just a simple fact. And that's why Goaty was really ultimately created, because I would do these drills on the site, I would get all this feedback, and people would say, oh, this drill is amazing. And other people say, oh, it's not working for me. And I'm like, well, I need to see you. I need to see what you're doing, or how are you interpreting this drill? And inevitably, they're not doing the drill correctly, but they don't know, because nobody videos themselves. And the reason I think that most people don't video themselves is because they don't know what to look at. And that's really the crux. I think more people would, video their swings if they just had an instructor to look at it. But then you got to upload it, and you got to wait a couple of days to get a response, and you got to pay for that, and it's expensive. But that's what you really have to do to improve. The members of Rotary Swing who have made the biggest improvements over the years have all been the ones working with Craig and Anthony, getting lessons all the time, getting somebody to review their swing, a second set of eyes. Goaty is that second set of your eyes when he's available 24/7. Now he's not as experienced as Craig, but he knows everything about physics. He knows everything about swing mechanics. He understands your swing specifically. So it's obviously, there's a difference between working with a human versus an AI, but Goaty can see things that no human can, right? But the most important thing is, whether you use an instructor or Goaty, you need somebody to look at your swing, because if you don't, you are wasting your time. I can't tell you how many times, this is honest to God truth, that I videoed somebody's swing and then showed it to them, and they literally said to me, that's not me. I'm like, but it is. You're wearing the exact same shirt. No, it's not me. There's no way. I don't swing like that. Because these people show up and they've watched all these videos, but yet they don't know if they're doing anything right. They don't know if that drill is actually right for them. That's what Goaty does, is he takes all of that thought process away. He looks at your swing. He tells you what to do. He recommends the right thing based on data that's worked for other players, and then says, okay, work on this. And that's why the videos on inside of Goaty are not the same that are on the site. The site's way more in depth. You want to have the site because it gives you a much deeper understanding. Goaty's straight to business. He's not going to explain everything to you about this drill. He's going to say, do it, and let me see if you improve. And so these drills are way shorter. They're much more compact. They're not hour-long videos. They're 5-7 minute long videos, because it's just do this drill and let me see if it helped you or not. So that's why those are different there. All right, let's see what else we got in there. This is a good question. Is the model swing based on lead side or trail side, or does it matter? So when I was building Goaty, for the record, obviously I've swung and taught lead side dominant. I've swung and taught trail side dominant. I love them both. The reality is what the goats really did, the best of the best ball strikers, is that they used both together. It was more of not one side dominating the other. One side has its job to do, another side has its job to do. And when they work together with the body, you feel less one side or the other. The reason most golfers feel more trail side or more lead side is generally because they're not moving their body like the goats. When you start moving your body like the goats, you realize that the whole body is connected. Everything works together. So it's not about choosing one side or the other. You can, if you say, okay, I've now worked on my engine, my body's moving great, but I want to focus on more trail side. Cool, you can do that. Or you can be more lead side. It doesn't matter. Goaty is more like an operating system. He's looking at structurally, how is your body moving? How are you loading these slings? What kind of velocity are you moving? Is your sternum moving like the elites? Is your hips moving like the elites? The rest of the stuff is more kind of cosmetic. If you want to have higher hands, lower hands, a flatter swing, a more upright swing, he doesn't really care. What he's looking at more is sequencing. So you'll understand that Goaty is the operating system for all golf swings. It doesn't matter if you're a Stack and Tilt or a Jim Hardy fan or Hank Haney or whoever. The elites all move the same way, even though cosmetically, I look at it like Goaty's the operating system, and then you can put whatever kind of applications you want on top of him. You can be a guy that gets his arms a little bit deeper or whatever. The goats, the way that they moved, it's undeniably, this is the math of how the body actually moved. So let's see. Goaty is going to be iPhone and iPad in a few months, though for right now, that's not, it's not built yet. So a couple questions here. So is your swing thought only core loading right side and core engaging through left side? A simpler way to think about it is I look at the golf swing now as really just loading fascia and letting it unload for me. And so I look at things like the fascial slings. You have these things called anterior, posterior, oblique fascial slings. They kind of move like in an X pattern. And this is what allows your body to create rotation, your torso to rotate. That's really what I'm looking at more than anything in my golf swing anymore, is that Goaty understands how efficient it is to get these big bands of fascia to snap for you and move really fast. And that's where the speed is. And so what I really care about is how I load, how I use my feet into the ground to give stability and create tension across my feet and my pelvis. Like even just doing this as part of the torque bridge drill. But right now I have all of this load from my right big toe up through my pelvis, my adductors, all the way down to my left big toe. Everything is torqued into the ground right now so that when I'm ready, I can fire. And that's where all that speed comes from. And then my arms and hands, I can do whatever I want with them from there. Is this model based on Tiger or composite MIDI? It's not based on one player. It's a mathematical model. There's ranges, right? So certain players may have certain things. So for instance, Tiger scores between like 94 and 99 for almost every single category. And most of them are in the high 90s. But it depends on what era of Tiger you look at. So he doesn't hit 100%. No player hits 100%. What I look at it is if you're above 95, you're a high-level elite player. If you are, sorry, just making sure nothing's broken here. If you're in 90 to 95 range, you're plus handicap in most cases, plus handicap ball striking ability. The 85 and up, you're at a certain level and so on. So what you're really looking at is not, I'm trying to swing exactly like that person, because again, there are certain things that Goaty's looking at and certain things he doesn't care about. He doesn't care about the style of your swing or necessarily how high you put your arms or hands. He cares about how do you load your body. So if you think about this, Hogan and Tiger, they didn't really look the same, right? I mean, Hogan had an inside takeaway, a pretty shallow, flat swing, a lot of wrist set, a lot of kind of, not necessarily down cock, but, he had a lot of shallowing and maintained a lot of angle really late in the swing. And Tiger's always looked very wide. but their bodies actually moved really, really similar. When you watch Hogan come through the ball, remember he talked about the old two-handed pass, right? Basketball pass. Tiger moves the same way. They move on their lead hip and their core the same way to create that speed. But again, the styles are a little bit different. Goaty doesn't care about the styles. Goaty cares about efficiency. How are you really moving for power? How many swings should be done per session? As many as you want. Depends on how long you're out there. I typically do 4, depends on what I'm working on, but you can do as many as you want to do. Is there a limit to how many uploads can be in a week? Nope, not right now. I'll talk about all that stuff in a minute. Podrick is right. All the speed truly does come from your hands, but it's got to be produced by your body first. You can't have one without the other. Yes, this is recorded. I'll talk about cost in a minute. It's basically nothing. Yes, he'll do down the line later. I'm going to explain this real quick. So as I mentioned, when I started building this, I wanted it to be really simple. Golf is too freaking complicated for everybody, and it doesn't help anybody. I did a poll. Let's look at the answers of the poll real quick, just to understand this. How many of you answered this poll? Let me look. So how many of you have watched over 100 golf swings, golf instruction videos in your life? 92% of you have watched over 100 golf swings. But then how many of you have improved significantly from that? It's 50-50. Doesn't that say something? You know, there's probably what? How many video golf instruction videos do you think are on YouTube now? A billion? Who knows? Millions for sure. But yet golfers are still the same. Nobody's really getting better. And the reason is you have to have an objective view of your swing, whether you are that objective person and can look at your swing on video and say, this is what I'm really doing and this is what I need to change and I understand my swing completely. Or if you don't have that knowledge or time, somebody else has to do that, either an instructor. Now, the problem with that is that you need to work with a really, really good instructor. And if you don't, but then you're just kind of wasting your time and money again. So good instructors are also hard to find and they're in high demand. And so, you know, many of you have worked with Craig. Obviously, he's been working for RotarySwing for over a decade. He's done like 50, 60,000 swing reviews. So his brain is full of all this golf swing data too, but he can only do so many lessons in a day. Goaty can do 10,000 in a day. And each time he does those thousands of lessons, he improves, he gets better, he understands, did this drill help this person or not? And so when you start to understand, this is the issue. Watching videos by themselves is not enough. You have to understand, is this drill appropriate for me? And am I getting better working on this drill? Let's see. All right, sorry, I'm trying to catch back up with some questions here. Goaty does not assume a certain build. So when you saw that, the model overlay, where you can see the model swing overlaid on top of yours, it scales to your body. So I have short legs and a long torso, and I'm not very tall, I'm 5'9". The model is built around a 6-foot player, right? So it scales to meet your joint size. So when you do that overlay, it's going to be scaled to your body proportions. It doesn't matter if you're short, tall, big, or small. Physical limitations, we'll talk about that in a bit later. Goaty can accommodate that. Can I further explain the actual gymnastics of how I would use Goaty? Sure, it's very, very simple. You set your phone on, again, all of this stuff's on the site, but you set your phone on a tripod, set it to 120 frames per second. Don't do 240, it's a waste. It takes twice as long to process. 60 is still pretty accurate if you have slow internet speed. You can do 60, 30 is kind of a waste. 120 is the sweet spot. You video your swing. You trim it down so that you don't upload a minute-long video for a 2-second swing. Trim it down to just the beginning of the end of the swing. Upload that to Goaty. Select the frames. Again, there's a video there. And then just hit analyze and let him take it over from there. The whole point of this is you don't have to think anymore. You don't have to think, what drill should I work on? Is this drill right for me? Is this drill helping me? I don't know what's wrong with my swing. Goaty knows all that stuff. So just let him do it. All you got to do is hit analyze. It's super, super simple. We had, a ton of beta testers in there for the first 3 weeks, and I didn't have instructions for anything, and they figured it out. Okay, so I promise you, it's very, very, very easy to use Goaty. And you can use it on the course. This is another thing. You do not have to be hitting balls with Goaty. Goaty cares about movement. He cares about sequencing. He cares about velocity. How fast are you moving? Because you have to move fast to load and unload these fascial slings. He does not care if you're actually hitting a golf ball. You can practice anywhere, anytime. And that's the whole point of having the ball selector when you go in and upload your video, so that if there's not actually a ball there, you can manually set where the ball would be, because he needs those reference points to understand how to measure your swing. But you can use him on the course. You can use him anywhere. And you can use him on any device. He's all browser-based right now. So if you know how to use a browser and a website, you can use Goaty. All right, what else do we have? Yes, the higher GOAT score will absolutely lead to a lower handicap. They are a direct one-to-one correlation, basically. How does Goaty compare to 3D views? So I think some of the 3D software that's out there right now is very cool. We can do the same thing. The problem is, the truth of it is, it's not really accurate unless you have at least 2 different views of your swing, which we will do in the future for those power users who want that. Goaty is not meant to be this tricked up fakester thing. This is real, actual measurements of the things that actually matter in your swing. Are your hands leading at impact? What is the angle? Is your wrist flat? Is your pelvis shifted? Is it turned? Did you load correctly? That's what Goaty is looking at. The 3D stuff, if you're doing it in just a single view, it's wildly inaccurate. It's just impossible. Trust me, I wrote all of this software. I've been writing software since 1999. I have tested everything under the sun, and you can't accurately, truly get a 3D view from just one part of the body. It's physically impossible. You can get a guess, but I don't like to guess. I like to measure. Yes, it will be in the App Store later, but that's not going to be for, again, several months for the app version. Senior with back problems. This is dear to my heart. I have had a bad back since I was a freshman in college. So I was in a bad car accident. I've had back issues ever since. I've broken my neck twice. I've had 4 cervical spine surgeries. I'm fused. I have scoliosis. So trust me, I understand back problems. The only thing that got rid of all my back problems and still allowed me to hit the ball hard without putting any effort into it was learning how to move the way that Goaty and I figured out. Because at the end of the day, if you are the way that most golfers swing, and now it's empirical from all the members we've ran through Goaty, everybody lifts their sternum, lifts more because they throw and push with their dominant hand. And so in order to have any speed as you're doing this, because you're always going to scoop and flip like this, because you don't have anything to pull the club through. That's got to be that lead hip snapping and creating that rotational velocity. But if you start doing this and you start standing up, there's no way for you to produce any power without muscling the club harder. The harder you muscle the club, the more likely you are to get injured. The more inefficient you are, the more you're going to have back pain. When I started moving efficiently by letting my fascial slings load and unload and snap my body through the ball, is when all my back pain finally went away. So learning how to move correctly is kind of the whole point. That's what Goaty cares about. That's why he's looking at face on only. Face on, I can see, do you have proper shaft lead? You can't tell if I'm flipping down the line. If you're flipping, you're a bad golfer. You have to fix that. The only way to fix that is learning how to snap this lead hip to create the whip. And when you understand that, and that's all Goaty cares about, is teaching you how to get your engine working and giving your anchor stability, so he can teach you how to snap the club, because that's the fun part. That's where all the magic happens in the golf swing. The camera, again, you set at waist height, about 3 yards away is perfect. Let's see. Do everything with a 5-iron is ideal. Now, Goaty will work with any club, but I do everything with a 5-iron for a specific reason. If you're just using like an 8-iron or a 9-iron, it doesn't translate to the driver or even a long iron, right? Those swings are different. They're shorter. There's way less speed in them. A 5-iron is kind of like the perfect truth teller. It applies to a wedge, and it still applies to the driver as much as an iron can, without being so intimidating that you're hitting a 3-iron. But the model is built around between a 3-iron and a 7-iron. So you can hit anything in between there and still get accurate scores. But a 5-iron is where it's fine-tuned for. So when you look at a 5-iron, you're going to be moving exactly like the GOATs if you are scoring with that club. see. My average driving carry. So I live at altitude, but at sea level, I hit it about, if I'm swinging just comfortably, it's 305, 310. If I'm going after it, I hit it 330 at sea level with the driver. My swing speed, I did I think Fast Eddie is in here. You guys follow Fast Eddie on Instagram or on social stuff? Eddie and I did a little session together here where I got my swing speed up to 130. So yeah, you can still move it when you get older. Yes, we're going to integrate Goaty with the launch monitor and all of that stuff. Let's see. Sounds like the body is leading your swing now. So let me explain this, because the way that the goat swung was really simple. And this is going to be hard for a lot of you to hear, but I'm going to say it one more time. The goats were better than you because they just had a simpler golf swing than you. The trick is this simple swing feels really weird at first. And it happens so fast that there's no time to think through it. So when you're understanding what's really happening, a lot of the things are results of those things happening. So somebody's asking about supinating of the trail hand. Do I still supinate? Absolutely. What's happening is my lead hip and my core are making all of those things happen. So let me show you. So as I go to the top, I'm going to explain just really quickly. I twist this lead foot into the ground. So now I'm getting ready to be able to snap it back the other way. So I'm loading up this fascia to then snap it. Now, as I snap this left hip, what do you see happening to the club? It's doing this. It's supinating. That's why you see all elite players look like they shallow, right? They're dropping that club down. But this is not something I'm consciously doing with my hands. This is happening as a result of how my core and lead hip are working to create power. So you'll see my lead hip snaps. I squish the bug on the trail foot. The club supinates. The lead hand pronates. And then the club snaps. It's that simple. That's all the goats did. All right, what else we got here? Okay, so let me dive into how this all works here. So what this stage 2 beta is I'm looking for a small group of players who practice regularly, not once a month. That's not going to help anybody. For those of you who want to use Goaty for the next month or two, I'm doing another test, and I've got a limited number of people who I'm going to take down this journey with me, who, if you practice regularly and you understand how to use your phone and 120 frames per second, I don't have time to teach you how to use your phone and how to record stuff right now. You can worry about that stuff later. But right now I'm looking for active users who are really serious and want to understand how to move like the elites, because Goaty and I are going to teach you. We are going to use the powers of AI, the powers of mathematics, my understanding of the swing, AI's understanding of the swing, to create the perfect drills for each of you that is mathematically proven to get you results, to make you swing more like the elites, more like the goats. So what I need is just a small group of you. There's way more of you in this webinar than I have spots open. But in just a moment, I'm going to allow you to get access to it. The way it's going to work is that this is an additional thing to Rotary Swing. It's not included with your Rotary Swing membership because there's a ton of expense on the back of this thing. It's doing a ton of work that you can't see behind the scenes. But you can imagine if you compare this to how you would normally work with a coach. You can take a lesson anytime, anywhere. You don't have to hit balls. You can practice at 3 a.m. in your boxers. I don't know if Goaty will be cool with that, but you'll have to ask him. But you can practice anywhere, anytime, 3 in the morning. It doesn't matter. You can practice in your backyard. You can wake up neighbors hitting balls against the fence. It doesn't matter. Goaty's there anytime. And so that's the most important part of it, is how many of you will actually use him regularly. I'm not talking about every single day. Go through a normal practice schedule. If you use him 2 or 3 times a week over the next month or two, that's going to help me help you, because the more I watch what's happening with the drills that he recommends and understand, I watch what happens to your metrics, what happens to your scores when you work on this. And I actually can look at your videos and say, okay, this guy needs to focus on this. So we're going to make an adjustment here, Goaty, because he needs to watch this video and I need to do a drill for this and so on. You can imagine that having a coach, this is what pros have. Pros have a team working for them all the time, where they've got their psychologist and their swing coach and they're there 24/7 whenever they need them. I need to go hit balls right now. I helped Robert Gomez one year with his putting. I was working with his coach and we were working together to help Robert. And we went over there at 10 o'clock at night, the night before the Friday round at Bay Hill, because that's what he needed, right? So not everybody can afford that kind of level of access, but now you can. You can have an elite coach that's available 24/7 that can see things that no human can. He doesn't ever get bored about talking about your golf swing. He loves to talk about it. You can chat with him all day long, and you will mathematically, provenly get better. So what is that worth compared to a swing review or an in-person lesson? In-person lesson with me, way too expensive for most people. And I live in the middle of nowhere. It's hard to get to me. And I'm not taking on any new students anymore. So I'm sold out. You can't even get to me in person anymore. Online swing reviews, $400. Goaty, $25 a month for unlimited reviews. So basically each lesson is going to cost you $0.25. Okay. That's why I only have a small number of spaces, because this is not about making money off this. This is covering just the expenses of it and me figuring out what's the most optimum way to help you guys get better. So if you want to swing like the goats, you want to understand how to move, how they did it, what their secrets are. It's not complicated. Again, my goofy looking shoes, I roll into my big toe and then I roll all along the toes, the outside of my shoe, snap my hip, what? That's where all the speed comes from. Everything else mostly happens as a result. So if you guys are in and you know how to use your phones and you don't have any more questions, I'm going to put this link up here and just understand a couple of things before I let you run wild here. One, this is beta testing. There will be bugs. So I'm looking for feedback. Help me understand things that you see, things that you'd like to see improved. We're adding new features every single day, but know that things will break, right? So if all of you flood in to do to get in there right now and everybody tries to upload their swing, it might crash the server. I don't know yet. We haven't had that many people in there. This is why we're doing a stage 2 beta test and allowing a little bit more people in there, but nobody's ever come in all at once. So if something crashes, it's okay. We're monitoring it. We'll bring it back up. It'll take just a moment. If it keeps crashing, just come back in an hour. Everybody will fade away, and then you can take your own time, because you can practice with Goaty whatever you feel like it. You need to get away from, mother-in-law dinner, go in the bathroom at the restaurant. You can start practicing, film your swing, upload it to Goaty. He'll look at it while you're eating. So you don't have to rush into this, but I want to let you do it just in case to see if it does break. So it might. Same thing with the sign-up page. The sign-up page for this is limited. It's going to lock you out once we hit a certain number. You may get a message that says, hey, this is sold out. Sorry. If that happens, we've reached maximum capacity. I'm going to focus on this next group for the next month or two, and we're going to make sure that all of these guys get better, and then we're going to keep improving Goaty. And this is what's cool about it, is you guys get to shape your coach of the future, because this is how golf's going to be taught. It's inevitable to have something that can see things that no human can instantly analyze 50,000 data points and give me accurate information that's specific to me. This is how things are going to be done in the future. So this is your chance to shape it and make it exactly what you want. What do you want? What does it make you better? How does it help you? So any more questions before I let you guys run free and jump in and sign up here? All right, no more questions? All right, I'm going to post the link in here. What was the question here? I only have 5 feet or so in front of my face on. Yep, that'll still work. You can zoom out. It'll still work just fine. Does it work with lefty? Yes, yes, it does. So, all right, let me put a link in here. Okay, are you ready? Here we go. I'm going to share the link. Again, not all of you will get in. There's just not that many spaces. So whoever gets there first is going to be working with me for the next month or two. You ready? Here we go. You do not have to be a member. Yeah, anybody can sign up for this. You don't have to be a Rotary Swing member. It will help you, but you don't have to be a member. It'll just help you understand things a lot more, right? So I can see we've already had more clicks than we have spaces. So whoever gets in, gets in. Like I said, if things crash, let me know. We'll bring it back up. But yeah, any other questions from you guys? Well, those of you who didn't jump over there to sign on, can I answer anything else for you? Yeah, there should be a link in the bottom left side of the screen. Any more questions? If you can't see the link, it's RotarySwing.com/Goaty, all lowercase, Goaty. That'll get you into the sign up page where you can learn more about Goaty, how it works, and you can see some reviews in there, see some swings, some other golfers like you, etc. When do I think it'll be ready for everybody? That's a good question. My hope is in the next month or two. Depends on how much good feedback and usage I get from the members now. My goal, which is probably unrealistic, I want to make every single student swing like the goats. That's my goal. And in order to do that, I had to learn how to do it first. I had to learn how to move efficiently first, because if you can't do something, you can't understand it. And if you can't understand something, you can't teach it. So my goal was, in order for me to really understand this, I had to learn how to do it myself first, which is a big part of why I built Goaty. I built Goaty for me too. I want to swing like the goats. I want to hit the ball far when I get older. You know, at 50 years old, I'm not getting any younger, and too many dirt bike crashes have broken too many bones. So I want to learn how to swing efficiently, and that's what Goaty has helped me do. And now I want to work on how to translate that to any golfer of any level, including beginners to elite players. We've got tour pros who have been testing it, all sorts of different people. Yeah, if you already signed up for the beta 2 on Thursday, you're in. You guys got an advanced link, so you got in there before everybody else did. So you're already in. Slow-mo video, they're in Goaty. You can see my video. So this is another cool feature. I'll share my screen real quick while you guys, I'll hang out here for a bit. I just want to share my screen and I'll show you some of the things that you can do inside of Goaty. So if you go down here to the leaderboard, you can actually click on each player's swing or each player's profile and see their swing and see their score. Upside down. You can see what their swing looks like in order to understand, and then see their scores. So you can, and you don't have to do this. You can hide this. So if you don't want your profile shared, but this is cool because I look at Goaty as kind of like crowdsourcing, right? We're all learning together. We're all figuring out what it is that we need to do to move more like the elite. So here's a good example. This guy's an 80 goat swing. See his sternum going down. Oh, he had a big reverse pivot when we started, I think. Now he's starting to fix that. He's starting to look through, and that's his score right there. He's starting to move at an 80. So this is, again, everybody's kind of going to learn through everything together. So learning from others is super, super helpful. You can see my swing in here. If you click on mine, mine's got that score 91 right now. It's still the top of the leaderboard. And just for the record, I had somebody ask me this about the leaderboard. It only takes your highest score. It's not your average. So I know some people are ultra competitive and they didn't want to like lower their scores because they kept uploading new swings and they were practice swings and they were not good. And it doesn't affect your status on the leaderboard. Your status on the leaderboard is solely tied to your potential. What are you capable of? And then the other thing is you can track your progress over time and you'll see fluctuations, right? So as you start working on things, you may see certain parts of your score drop, you'll see certain pieces increase, and it's just helping you start to understand that like the golf swing improvement, just like anything else in life, is not a straight line, right? It's going to go up and down, up and down, up and down as you start to learn and understand what you're really doing, and then you just go in there and ask Goaty questions. This is, if you go up here to the top menu, you can go to chat with Goaty. This allows you to chat with him anytime. So you can just open up a chat that's outside of a lesson. Again, you can go back and review your entire chat history. So one of the things that's super helpful, you can come in here and search your chat. So, couple weeks ago, I was hitting the ball great. What did I say? What were we working on? What were the drills? So here's all of my chat history with Goaty for the last few weeks, right? So I can go through and see everything he said. And like I said, Goaty has access to this, so you can ask him about previous chats as well. The other thing that's really cool about Goaty when you're working with him in a lesson, so I'll load one up here, is that he senses frustration, right? So in a couple of ways, this is kind of cool. When you're chatting with him, if you keep giving him signals like, you know what, I'm tired of slicing, I'm really frustrated, what have you, he will start to change his strategy with you. If he'll go and look at your scores and say, okay, this golfer's plateauing with this drill. I need to do X, Y, and Z with this player because I need to make sure that he's improving. Because Goaty's obsessed with improvement. That's all he cares about. He's just trying to move your GOAT score up and to the right. That's all he cares about. And so as he's doing that, he's looking for frustration signals. So anyway, all sorts of crazy stuff that you guys will see in here that are very unique to how this works. You know, this is not like what I tried to do was I was trying to create something that I wanted for myself. I wanted to have an elite coach that knew my swing, that could see everything, that could see the things that I can't see. 50,000 data points. I can't see that. I can see a few. And then understand and give me objective advice saying, this is exactly what Jack did or what Tiger did at this point in the swing. And here's what you're doing mechanically versus what he's doing. And here's the actual thing. So that's really what I built him for a lot, was just for me to help understand, I want to swing better. I want to swing better like the GOATs did. And we should all be able to. Yeah, if you didn't get into the group, again, like I said, this is a small run. I'm just allowing another small chunk of people in to test Goaty out because I don't want to let everybody in there and something breaks. And, you know, I want him to be perfect, you know, as perfect as I can make him. I want him to be me, but PhD level understanding of everything. And eventually he says the exact right thing at the exact right time for you. That's what Goaty is all about. So if you didn't get in now, I apologize. I got to do some more testing, right? This is something I've been working on literally 15 hours a day, 7 days a week since July 1st. So it's a lot of time and effort and energy, and I'm trying to get my brain wrapped around it still. So yeah, sorry if it got sold out. I apologize. There will be another group. I don't know if it's going to be a stage 3 or we go to a full launch. I got to see how things go. But I'll keep updating stuff in email. I'll keep putting some videos out there. But yeah, the next goal is, I got my first stage of beta testers. I saw improvement across the boards, and now I saw where I wanted to tweak things. And now my next group of beta testers that you guys just got in with is we're going for the moon, baby. I'm going to see just how good I can get you and how fast we can do it. I don't have time to analyze these swings anymore, so it's got to be. You'll just have to wait until we get into the next set of testing. I apologize about that. How much will it be when it's ready for full launch? We don't know yet. This is part of the testing process still. I'm trying to see, how you guys use the system. What do you really want to use? I know how I use it, but I want to know how you use it. And that'll help me understand, do you need 1 review a week or do you need 10 reviews a week? There'll probably be different price plans for people who, don't use it every single day versus those that do. Because, you think about all the inference costs, the API costs, the storage costs, you're uploading swings all the time, huge files and so on. So there's a lot that goes into it. But now there is no access to anything. If you didn't get into the beta group, how can I tell you? You should have got, if you got a receipt from Rotary Swing, then you're in. It's $25 a month for unlimited reviews right now. So basically, if you did a lesson with Goaty 3 times a day, every single day of this month, it would cost you 25 cents for every golf lesson that you took with him. It's all web-based right now. We have an app being developed for iOS and Android, and the app is very, very, I can't give it away. Let's just say it's far more capable than what you're seeing on the website right now. The app is basically a direct replacement for me. So I'll explain more when that's closer to getting ready. But yeah, it's going to be very, very different. Yeah, at some point we'll definitely do some more webinars on this stuff. I don't have time. 110% of my energy is going into making sure this next group of beta testers becomes the best ball strikers I can possibly make them. So yeah, so no trades for Goaty yet, but I appreciate it. Yeah, and everybody had to log in too. So I apologize if you guys didn't make it, but everybody had to log in or create an account. So there was no unfair advantage there, unless you just happen to already be logged out for some reason. Yep, if you're David, if you're in there, you can upload a swing. And yeah, as far as what the goal is, Mike, it just depends on how much you practice. Like I said, in a typical session for me, I'll hit balls for, an hour or two, maybe at the most. And I will do 3 or 4 or 5 swing reviews in each session, right? So you don't have to be it depends on what you're trying to do. If you're making a big change and Goaty's giving you a specific drill and this is all new to you and you don't want to waste time, like, am I doing this right? You can upload a swing over and over and over again. There's no limit to it. It's really up to you how much feedback you want. But I may do an analysis, say, okay, I want to just get a baseline. I typically will record my first swing of the day, first full swing of the day. And then I will go and practice. I'll get the analysis and I'll talk to Goaty about it for a minute. Say, okay, I'm going to focus on this. He's telling me to do this. So okay, I'll go and practice that. And I might practice that and hit 20 balls and be like, okay, I feel like I've made progress with this. Then I'll go do another analysis. But again, it's up to you, but that's how I use it. All right. Any other questions? Michael, I think it sold out within like 30 seconds. So I apologize. Oh yeah, it's a good question, John. You don't want to put somebody else's swing in your account because Goaty is tailored to you. So when you say, like, I had this happen during the beta test, and I didn't think to say anything about it, but I appreciate you bringing that up. That a guy put his swing in there, and then he put his son's swing in there, and now Goaty's confused. It's like, wait a second, you just made like a radical change. Before you were this pattern, now all of a sudden you're this pattern based on one swing. That doesn't make sense. And so you start to get bad info in, bad info out. So Goaty is tailored to you, and he constantly adapts to you. Every single thing you're doing in your swing, every note that you put in here, every chat that you have with him, all of that is coming together for Goaty to make decisions. So if you put somebody else in your account, he's going to be like, what the hell just happened, right? So don't do that. It'll wreck him for you, right? It's all about you. Goaty is focused on you. And if you have a friend that wants to get in there, they have to have their own account, because otherwise it's not going to help you get any better. Larry, if you got a receipt from Rotary Swing, and it would have confirmed and showed that the payment was successful and all of that stuff. So if you didn't get that far, you didn't get in. How far am I putting on new drills? That is what the beta test is for. So now I have the first structural set of the system. The first set of drills that I put in there was to test everything, the whole system, how it adjusted things, how it moved and made decisions and so on. Now that I have the structure all working, the way that he recommends drills and the way he adjusts things, all of that stuff is configured and tested and proven. Now it's focusing on getting you the right drill. So that's why, again, I only took a small group of people, and now it's about me creating the right drills for each person, and I'm monitoring all of your progress. So like I kind of have like an EKG of your golf swing. And so I'm looking at every single one of you who are in the beta test and saying, okay, this person is still struggling. These metrics are failing. What do I need to give them? And how does this relate to the system as a whole? What patterns might need this video? What patterns might need this, and so on. So there's going to be a lot more stuff, but the goal is to have not 50,000 drills, right? Like what I've discovered with Goaty is that the system, when you do it right, you only need a handful of things. And really, you just need kind of like one drill. If you guys remember the dead drill, I'm hooked on this idea of one drill, the axiom, one drill, the goat drill. This is kind of where this is all going. So you have one simple thing that gives you the whole picture. And really, for me, the goat drill is loading this lead hip, coiling around this trail hip, and snapping this lead hip and letting it pull everything around. That's how simple it is. And then you have like little helper drills to go along with that. I want you to use Goaty however you find it most helpful. Like I just said earlier, if I do one kind of my baseline swing to start the day, I see what he wants me to work on, and then I go and work on that, and then I do another one. And if I'm out there for an hour or two, I'll probably do 4 or 5. If I'm out, I'm usually out there for at least an hour or so. But yeah, use it however you want. So yeah, go to RotarySwing.com/Goaty to log in. And in the top right-hand corner in the menu, there's a login to Goaty link there. That's how you'll always be able to get in. And one thing we didn't talk about, you can actually talk to Goaty. I didn't do it here because I wasn't sure how it would work with the microphones and stuff. But when you're in the chat, if you click the voice button, you can talk to Goaty. So, and he'll talk back. So if you're in a place where, if you're at home and you don't want to go over there and type on your screen, just talk to him. Just hit the voice button, talk, yell at him, tell him, hey, great job. Tell him, hey, how do I do this? What does this mean? What do I need to focus on? And he'll talk to you just like a regular coach would. So you don't have to type everything in. You can use the voice chat as well. Any more questions before we get cranking here, guys? I'll be communicating and watching everything behind the scenes with all the beta testers. So, you guys will be talking again soon. I've got all your email addresses, so I'll be reaching out to you guys separately. Yes, the phone needs to be on a tripod or at least something that holds it steady. Do not have your wife hold the camera. It will not work. You'll get bad scores. So yes, you need to be on a tripod. And all of that information is in, as you start going through the site, you'll see that, there's instructional videos with instructional tips on everything. Portrait or landscape will work fine. You can use either one. Landscape typically works the best for kind of like being able to see the whole thing. But again, Goaty doesn't care. He doesn't care if you're, as long as he can see your whole body and your hands throughout the whole swing, he doesn't need to see the whole club. He's focusing on body mechanics. And so he knows if your body's moving correctly, the club has no choice. So yeah, you don't have to worry about even cutting it off in portrait. And yes, you can use a laptop. These shoes are by Paluva. I don't have a relationship with them, but these are kind of like the way that shoes should be made, in my opinion. And so these are pretty much all I wear now. And for these drills, I'm going to be wearing these pairs of shoes in the drill that I'm going to be doing here soon. So, all right, guys, thank you so much. Hopefully you learned a lot. Again, this was kind of a quick overview so that you guys could understand who wants to get in and if this is the right thing for you or not. And I will keep you guys updated. You guys are welcome. Thank you.